welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today is a haul and a book of the month unboxing. I only got one book for the month of August, so this was August's book. August's? Is that even a word? But we'll get to the good stuff last. But I did buy a couple books in the month of August, and I borrowed a book from my bestie Debbie. I think Bella's trying to get in here. The door's open. She just likes to play with me, make a lot of noise. But anyway, I borrowed this book. This is Speak by Lori House Anderson. This is the 15th anniversary edition. It has a National Book Award. It was a National Book Award finalist. I think I saw this book, if I'm remembering correctly, I saw this on Rachel with the Shades of Orange on her page, and she read this book and she really enjoyed it, and it just sounded interesting, and she said it's like one of her favorite reads ever, so I thought I'd give it a go. I saw it, Debbie had it on her shelf one day when I was at her house, and I was like, ooh, I think Rachel read this book and said it was really good. I want to try it. So she's like, here, borrow it. Let me know how it is. I've never read it. So let's see. It says, I am an outcast. Melissa Sardino's freshman year is off to a horrible start. She busted in a summer party by calling the cops, and now her friends and even strangers all hate her. Months pass and things aren't getting better. She's a pariah, the lowest of the low, avoided by everyone. But eventually she'll reveal what happened at the party, and when she finally speaks the truth, everything will change. So it's a short little read. It sounded just really good when Rachel was talking about it, and I just got intrigued. So there we go. And then getting into the books that I purchased, I picked up Found. This is The House of Night, The Other World. I think this is the 4th book by PC Cast and Kristen Cass. This is sort of on the young adult fantasy side of reading. I really fell in love with the House of Night series years ago, and when they came out with The Other World, I immediately jumped on it and I've loved it. So like I said, this is the 4th book, and I'm anxious to see what happens. I can't really tell you too much. If you don't really know anything about the House of Night, it's a lot to get into. It involves vampires, like a vampire finishing school. There's an evil nemesis. Her name is Neferet, but we mostly follow Zoe and her friends. And in The Other World, this is like years later after the House of Night series, when they're actually a little bit more grown up and adult vampires, and they are actually like teaching at the House of Night. And Otherworld happens when an Otherworld actually appears in front of them. They cast a spell to do something to protect them from Neferet, because there's word that she might be planning to escape. They have her like bonded somewhere. So they go around her tomb or whatever and cast a spell to keep them safe. And all of a sudden something goes wrong. Someone interrupts the spell. Something goes wrong, and the other world appears. And so it's basically the same people, just they're different in this other world. So Zoe, even though Zoe's this person in this world, she is another person in that world. She could even be dead. She may not even be in that other world. So that's kind of what this series is all about. I found it interesting, and I got intrigued when I first read the first book. It took me a while to get into it, because I kind of put the first book away, and then I jumped into the second book like just last year. I think it was either the beginning of this year or last year. I don't really remember, but then I fell in love with it all over again. So I decided to like re-listen to the first book, and then I continued with the series, and then the Found just came out like a couple months ago. So I'm really excited about this one. I think in this one, Neferet might get what's coming for her. It says, fog rolls into Tulsa, and with it comes darkness. Zoe knows something is up, and that something involves Neferet. But Neferet can't possibly be freed, right? Other Neferet and her companion Lynette arrive in Woodward Park to set this world's Neferet free from the Grotto prison. and discover there may be those who sympathize with their cause. Meanwhile, other Kevin and other Stark are hot on their trail. But how can the new friends travel to this world without invoking old magic and paying a costly, perhaps deadly price? So it's a lot of like other people, like other Zoe, other Stark, other Neferet. There's a lot of others in the other world. It can get a little confusing, but unless you really read and get into the House of Night and really follow along, then you're good. And then of course I picked up Mallory. I couldn't resist. This is the sequel to Bird Box. I hear that it's like years later, like maybe it's about 10 years later. So I'm intrigued. I thought maybe it would pick up right where Mallory left off in Bird Box. So yeah, I'm really anxious to see what happens to Mallory. I heard good things about it. It says 12 years after Mallory and her children rowed up the river to safety, a blindfold is still the only thing that stands between sanity and madness. One glimpse of the creatures that stalk the world will drive a person to unspeakable violence. There remains no explanation and no solution. All Mallory can do is survive and import her fierce will to do so to her children. Don't get lazy, she tells them. Don't take off your blindfold and don't look. But then comes what feels like impossible news, and with it the first time Mallory has allowed herself to hope. Someone very dear to her, someone she believed dead, may be alive. Mallory has already lost so much, her sister, her house full of people who meant everything and any chance at an ordinary life. But getting her life back means returning to a world full of unknowable horrors and risking the lives of her children again. Because the creatures are not the only thing Mallory fears, there are the people who claim to have caught and experimented on the creatures. Murmurings of monstrous inventions and dangerous new ideas, and rumors that the creatures themselves have changed into something even more frightening. Mallory has a harrowing choice to make: to live by the rules of survival that have served her so well, or to venture into the darkness and reach for hope once more. If that doesn't sound intriguing, I don't know what will. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. And then lastly, I picked up the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I'm super excited about this one. I've heard so many good things over like the past couple months when this book first came out. This kind of reminds me, not the cover, but just, well, a little bit the cover, but just in general, I don't know why. I can't give a reason. It just kind of reminds me of True Blood. But let's see what the synopsis says. Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic. Her teenage kids have their own lives. Her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. At these meetings, they're as likely to talk about the Manson family as they are about their own families. One evening after book club, Patricia is viciously attacked by an elderly neighbor, bringing the neighbor's handsome nephew, James Harris, into her life. Little by little, James will insinuate himself into Patricia's life and try to take everything she took for granted, including the book club. But she won't surrender without a fight in this blood-soaked tale of neighborly kindness gone wrong. It just sounds fun and funny, and it gives me True Blood vibes, and I'm all about it. And then lastly, my book of the month pick for August, probably not surprising, but I picked The Night Swim. There we go. By Megan Golden. I really enjoyed her book, The Escape Room, that came out, I believe, was it last year? And this one, I believe, has to do with a podcast. I'm all about a good true crime podcast. But it says, a true crime podcast host covering a controversial trial finds herself drawn deep into a small town's dark past and a brutal crime that took place 3 years before. Ever since her true crime podcast became an overnight sensation and set an innocent man free, Rachel Crawl has become a household name and the last hope for people seeking justice. But she's used to being recognized for her voice, not her face, which makes it all the more unsettling when she finds a note on her car windshield addressed to her, begging for help. The new season of Rachel's podcast has brought her to a small town being torn apart by a devastating rape trial. A local golden boy, a swimmer destined for Olympic greatness, has been accused of raping the beloved granddaughter of the police chief. Under pressure to make season 3 a success, Rachel throws herself into her investigation, but the mysterious letters keep coming. Someone is following her, and she won't stop until Rachel finds out what happened to her sister 25 years ago. Officially, Jenny Steele's tragically drowned, but the letter insists she was murdered, and when Rachel starts asking questions, nobody in town wants to answer. The past and present start to collide as Rachel uncovers startling connections between the two cases, and a revelation that will change the course of the trial and the lives of everyone involved. See, it sounds really good. We'll see how this goes, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. And this is the bookmark. Hold that thought. It says, it's got a little brain right there. Cute. I love books that come with bookmarks. All right, that's it, y'all. That's all I have for what I purchased as far as books go in the month of August. Let me know if you read any of these books, and let me know how you feel about them down in the comments below. I'll also have them linked down below as well if you want to check them out for yourself, as well as anything else you're looking for. If you want to subscribe to Book of the Month, I have my link down below if you would like to go that route. If not, just go to bookofthemonth.com. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.